This is absolutely insane, as an NHL insider has revealed that the Rangers will be trading Chris Kreider this offseason, and one of the teams linked to Chris Kreider and the Rangers will have fans around the league absolutely shocked. No one saw this one coming, and this has major implications on the Rangers lineup and cap situation heading into next season. We're going to break it all down in this episode of Rangers Digest. But before we do that, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. About 74% of you who watch these videos are not subscribed to the channel. So if you want to stay up to date with everything that's happening with the New York Rangers, this is the place to be for all your daily New York Rangers news. So again, go down below, hit that free subscribe button, and you get to stay up to date with everything New York Rangers. And yes, I'm back home. I was traveling. Thank you for being patient with the not so great setup over the last little while, but we are back and we have some big stuff to get into. David Pagnotta of the fourth period has reported, and let's dive right into it, that Chris Kreider is on his way out of New York. But the team that he's rumored to go to, I did not see this one coming. This one has come as a shock to me. The Toronto Maple Leafs look like they will be traded and are linked to Chris Kreider of the New York Rangers. Now, he goes on to say that the Maple Leafs might look at acquiring Chris Kreider to help fill the Mitch Marner void. And that, again, that is from the fourth period. And I think that's very interesting that, they want to fill a 100-point void that is coming. It is inevitable for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Mitch Marner will be leaving with Chris Kreider. Now, I think it's just interesting. Chris Kreider dealt with a lot of injuries. There could be a lot of Leaf fans watching this right now as well. And let me just say that Chris Kreider, before you scoff and, freak out over this trade idea, he was very injured last year. He was dealing with a weird illness in the middle of the season. He had a back injury to start the season, and then he basically shattered his hand at the Four Nations face-off, so he was basically useless after that because he couldn't play. He had a broken hand, right, that he needed surgery to repair. So that's what happened last year. But I do think this is incredibly interesting that they think he can help fill the void of Mitch Marner. If you take a look at his stats from last season, like I said, he was injured, but 30 points in 68 games. Again, he missed time due to injury, in and out of the lineup at times. Didn't play that much, but, he's great on the power play. We know that he's got a great shot. We know that he can score 50 goals, but he is getting older. He's 34. He's going to be 35 next season. And, again, only 8 assists. He's been known, to be a scorer. He's not going to be a setup guy or anything. He's not going to be exactly Mitch Marner, but he will be able to produce if healthy. But, again, he's getting older. So to trade for him, I think, is very interesting. He's got 2 years left on his deal at $6.5 million. Now, what does this do for the New York Rangers? Frees up $6.5 million, but there's no way that the Leafs are going to be able to take on $6.5 million. So we can take a look at it here. He's heading into year 6 of 7 of this deal. It expires in 2027. He will be 36 when it expires. For the Maple Leafs, that's not a bad thing. I don't think they want to continue to get that much older, but it's not horrible, but you're going to have to retain salary on the Rangers side. There's no way that the Maple Leafs can afford all of that. And again, we know what Chris Kreider brings to the table. A couple of years ago, all these moments as a New York Ranger, but it looks like his time will be coming up. And if you look at the Leafs lineup right now, I mean, they don't even have Mitch Marner in this lineup heading into next year. So it's very thin. They're going to need help, and maybe Chris Kreider can help on that second line, but this is a very thin-looking lineup for the Toronto Maple Leafs going into next season. So they're going to need help. And if you look at the New York Rangers lineup right now, you take Kreider out. I would assume you put, Cooley back up there on the second line, and you free up a ton of salary cap space. Again, it's not going to be all $6.5 million. It does not make sense for the Toronto Maple Leafs. It just won't work. And again, we can get into their cap situation here in a second. But on the New York Rangers side, they have $8.4 million. We'll get into this because this has implications on the team moving forward. They're going to have to move salary, and I think the guy to move is Chris Kreider at this point in time. It's going to be very difficult to move Mika Zibanejad. He has a no movement clause, and he makes $8 million. Chris Kreider, on the other hand, a modified no trade clause, so it's a little bit easier to trade him, and he makes 6.5. You're still freeing up quite a bit, even if you retain salary. Now, again, $8.4 million. That's what you have going into next season. You still have to sign, we assume, Keandre Miller. We don't know what's happening with that. We need a resolution on that. You still need to sign guys like Matt Rempe. You still need to sign a few others, right, that in the lineup. I think Adam Edstrom still needs a contract. So you still need to sign a few. So that cap space is dwindling down. If you can free up another $4 million, then you're in a good spot. You have some flexibility heading into the year. And then you can do some cap shenanigans during the year as well. And if you take a look at the projected cap over the next couple of years, again, the cap is going up. So obviously, if you can shed more to give yourself some flexibility now, you can go and get a really good free agent in a couple of years. But keeping in mind, Gabe Perreault, and he's going to need his contract out of an ELC as well. But if you look at the Toronto Maple Leafs right now, the projected cap hit or cap space is $25.7 million. Now, it's not going to stay that way. It's not, right? They're going to have to sign some significant free agents. But it's an interesting idea that maybe they want to take on a guy who, in Chris Kreider, if healthy, can maybe score you, like we've been talking about, 40 goals, right? Power play. He's another guy who can shoot, unlike Austin Matthews in the last year, right? So I think it's an interesting idea. I don't think the Leafs can take on the whole salary cap hit, but they're going to have some space this summer, and maybe it's a guy that they'd like to trade for. Now, coming back in return, you're not getting a roster player, right? It's probably just going to be something to say that we got an asset for Chris Kreider, right? I'm not sure what it is, but I don't think it's going to be anything like a blockbuster trade. Nothing like that. He's getting older. You don't know what you have in Chris Kreider anymore because of the injuries that he sustained last year. I wanted to get into this as well. These rumors, have been around for a few days already at this point, 5 days already, as you can see here from Jesse on May 21st, that, the Toronto Maple Leafs are expected to undergo some changes. We know that Mitch Marner's probably leaving, and they've been connected to Chris Kreider, but obviously, like I brought up earlier in the episode, that, David Pagnotta even has it now. So, the fourth period is suggesting that this could be happening. And again, in this article, you can see that doesn't really make sense for the Toronto Maple Leafs. You have a, strong free agent class coming next year. This one it's not bad. You have players like Nikolai Ehlers, obviously, Mitch Marner, he's not returning to Toronto, and some other players that they can fill out the lineup with. Brock Besser's another player that I think is going to be a hot commodity, whether it's Toronto Maple Leafs, New York Rangers. We mentioned him as well with the New York Rangers. He's going to, get a contract here coming up, a pretty significant contract. So it's going to be interesting. I think the Leafs look at it as an option of like, let's take a chance on this, and maybe the Rangers will give us Chris Kreider, for a lower price, because we kind of don't know what he has in the tank anymore because of the injuries last year. But if you're the New York Rangers, you have to shed that cap. You need that extra cap room going into next season. You need that flexibility. So even if you have to retain $2 million, you're freeing up like $4 million, which I think that is the move at this point in time. It's going to be very difficult, and I'm not even sure if you want to move off Zibanejad at this point. It's something you got to talk about, but I'm not sure if you want to do it. He played really well for Team Sweden. They won the bronze at the Worlds just a day ago. So going to be very interesting to keep tabs on. Let me know in the comments what you think about Chris Kreider going to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Didn't see that one coming. I think they need to shed the cap, and let me know what you would do in a trade. Do you think it should be something closer to a blockbuster? I don't think it's going to be anything too significant, because you don't know, if you're on the other side, if you're the Toronto Maple Leafs, you don't know what you have in Chris Kreider. He was injured the entire year, and he still put up a couple points, right? He still put up like some decent numbers, I guess, for being injured and having the flu, and obviously a broken hand, or shattered hand. But I'm not sure they're going to... that's a weird one to me. Let me know in the comments what you think, and if you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything New York Rangers.